Hello, we're here today with Megan, our young eco champion, and we're here today to ask her some questions.
How would you minimise your carbon footprint?
There's lots of ways you can minimise your carbon footprint, and I think it all starts at home. So it's about sort of taking note of your consumption in terms of electricity. It might be your food consumption, looking at what you're wasting, how you might make better decisions on how to minimise that. So I might look at, what I'm actually buying at the supermarket, what I actually need to eat. Do I need it? Is that just going to go in the bin after a week? Am I leaving lights on in the house that I don't even use that room? And I've done those things at home and changing, the light bulbs into the energy saving ones and that sort of thing. And I actually drive a hybrid car, and so there's lots of things that you can do within your own means, that is, to minimise what sort of an impact you're having on the wider environment.
Why do you work with dairy farmers?
Well, I don't just work with dairy farmers. I work with a range of landholders, and that includes beef farmers and people who have just bought a property and they just love having a big open space. A lot of the landholders we do work with are people who don't actually live on their land and they live far away, and we call them absentee landholders. So I work with people who manage their land for lots of different reasons, and it's with the farming community, they're managing often very important stands of vegetation, or they might be carrying out practices that might have an impact on the wider catchment in our area. So we try and educate them and make them aware of things that they can be doing maybe a little bit better to manage those natural resources on their properties and make it a little bit more sustainable in the way they're doing things. So for example, we might encourage people who have cattle using the creeks as their watering sources. We might encourage them and apply for some funding for them to fence off those creeks, get some off-point watering systems so the cattle don't actually even need to go anywhere near those creek lines. So it's just little things like that that we work with, dairy farmers and beef farmers and all sorts of landholders to do things a little bit better for the environment.
What can we do to improve our environment?
Well, there's lots of things that we can do to improve our environment, and I guess it just comes down to what you've actually got time to give back, and that might be just starting with your own garden at home and planting native species that are good for native bird life to come and use, instead of planting exotic species that can potentially become weeds in our natural environments. You could go and volunteer with a local group in your community where you're actually working together to deal with a local environmental issue. So there's lots of opportunities for people to go out there and give something back and do something for the Australian environment. And in terms of farmers, there's always something that they can do on their landscape and look at what's in their means. They can go and plant native trees, they can, look at the systems that they've got in place and maybe talk to organisations in their area that can help them manage the landscape a bit better. So it just depends on who you are and what you're doing and what you're actually capable of doing. So,
Okay. What made you start working with youth?
Well, when I first started in my industry, I was working very closely with volunteer groups who were pretty much all either retired or just about to retire, which is why they had that spare time to actually contribute to community projects like Landcare. And one of the biggest concerns that they were telling me over and over again was that there was no youth involved, or if there were youth involved, they weren't coming back. They were coming once or twice and then just, over it and not coming back. So I started thinking that, I know it's really important, well, I think it's really important that young people are involved and aware of what the issues are and how they can contribute and that sort of thing, because at the end of the day, the youth are the future. And if they're not involved from the start, then I think that's something that could be potentially damaging for the future of our environment. So I started thinking about how to get people involved and young people involved, and that's why I came up with the Youth Landcare group and started to introduce them into projects that they could get involved in, but also working together with other young people, which is a really important element. I think it's, I would want to be working with someone my age and, connecting with them over, something we're doing together rather than, just working with someone I'm not as connected to. So that's why I think I'm really passionate about working with young people.
What made them say they'd come back?
So I think I've been working with young people since 2009. And a lot of the people who have come on the projects do come back, and they have been coming back for a number of years, and I think it's because it's not only that they are enjoying going and seeing new and different places, but I think that it's the fact that they've actually made friends with other people who have come on the projects that's keeping them coming back. So, you know, often they'll see on Facebook, you know, oh, blah blah's coming on that project, I'm coming too, I haven't seen them for ages, and you know, and they come and we go camping and go paddling and all that sort of stuff when we're out there having fun, and then, you know, they go away and then we tag all the photos online and everyone's like, oh, you know, great weekend and that sort of thing, but they might not live near each other, so it's just a good opportunity. It's a really good social outcome that we're getting, and I think that's why they keep coming back.
What's your favourite part of your job?
Well, besides getting to see all these spectacular environments that I get to work in, I love working with people. And on top of that, I actually really love hearing their stories and capturing those stories. And I've been doing a lot of work with land care groups and landholders at the moment, doing digital short stories. And I think that's one of the most powerful tools that we have to sort of motivate people to get involved in natural resource management, because it really shows what people's struggles are, what they're doing to overcome them, and it also shows that they're not working in isolation in what they're doing, and people are dealing with all sorts of environmental issues across the country and not even realising that they're all fighting the same battle. So capturing those stories and putting them out there and sharing them with the wider community, I think is a really important tool, and I feel really good that I get to actually do that in my job.
What does it mean to you to be a young eco-champion?
It means a lot. I mean, it's a really great opportunity for me to come and talk to young people like yourselves and share my experiences and my knowledge and what I do in my industry, and also as a volunteer myself, and just raise awareness about the opportunities that are out there for people like yourselves to get involved in, what other people are doing, and what the industry is doing as well to support farmers and landholders and individuals to get good outcomes for the environment. So yeah, it's a really fun experience, and also seeing that transform into something like the Archibull Prize as well is just a really unique opportunity, because I can't wait to see what you guys come up with in a creative sense, because I love art as well. So yeah, it's just a really good opportunity.
He's not very old, something.
Here's a bit.
What would he be? How old would he be? 6 weeks? He's not very old, no. He's very... There's a pocket like that here. They have tried to eat some of it, as you can see, but most of it is still coming up in the pockets. See all those bits and pieces.
What do you guys do about it?
Well, I spoke to an agronomist yesterday about it, and he said we could spot spray it, and that will have a withholding period of 14 days. But if I boom spray it, he said that's 4 months. So I think I was talking to our farm hand, and I said maybe just spot spraying, just doing one paddock a day or something, might be easier. It's just really hard to not have access for 4 months. But he also said that it's root penetration, and that's why it needs to go through the root system, not kill the top section, which is how a lot of chemicals work. But do you guys use a lot of chemicals, or you're more into the mechanical?
I try and steer clear of, but a lot of our projects we have the luxury of not being dependent on them. So we have more volunteers. We can do the hand removal stuff.
So more intensive, you have,
But
So what do farmers generally do? Do they?
They do use a lot of herbicides. But it just depends on their time, and part of our program is cost. We do try and support them with volunteer teams as part of our funding project. So we get teams of volunteers out, once a month, and they do the hand removal of things, and it's also at a rate that's more manageable for the landholders to come back and maintain as well. Because there's a lot of problems with, especially with lantana and things like over clearing, and often what comes back after they've cleared the lantana is a lot worse.
And we're back to you guys.
From
Shoalhaven.
Aw, thanks.
Do you remember your time at Shoalhaven High School?
I'll never forget when I'm sipping on wine.